Picture this. It's 1941. Pearl Harbor just happened. America wants revenge on Japan. Military scientists gather to brainstorm weapons. Someone raises their hand and says, "What if we strap tiny bombs to bats and drop them on cities?" And instead of laughing him out of the room, the US government said, "Here's $2 million. Make it happen." This is Project X-Ray, the bat bomb, and it's somehow worse than it sounds. December 1941. A Pennsylvania dentist named Lytle Adams is driving through New Mexico. He sees millions of bats flying out of caves at sunset, and his brain makes a connection that should have stayed disconnected. Bats fly at night. Japan has wooden cities. What if we made the bats into tiny arsonists? Normal people would think this and then forget it. Little Adams wrote a proposal to the White House. He pitched attaching tiny incendiary bombs to bats, putting thousands of bats in bomb casings, dropping them over Japan, and letting the bats fly into buildings before the bombs ignited. Bat-delivered arson. That was the plan. The absolute madman sent this to Eleanor Roosevelt. The First Lady read it and somehow didn't throw it away. She passed it to President Roosevelt. He read it and thought, "You know what? Let's try it." The President of the United States greenlit weaponized bats. The military brought in actual scientists, biologists, engineers, bomb experts to work on bat bombs. They tested different bat species. Turns out the Mexican free-tailed bat was perfect. Small, hibernates in cold, flies well, makes good terrorist. The plan: put hibernating bats in special bomb casings with compartments. Each bat gets a tiny napalm bomb attached with string. The bomb casing drops from altitude. At 1,000 feet, a parachute deploys. The casing opens. Thousands of bats wake up. They scatter across the city. They roost in buildings. Timed fuses ignite the napalm. Everything burns. On paper, it's brilliant. One bat bomb could release over 1,000 fire-starting bats across a huge area. More effective than regular bombs. The scientists ran calculations, did tests, presented results. It could actually work. The military was impressed. They approved full development. Project X-Ray got serious funding. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. Everything could go wrong. First problem: catching thousands of bats. They sent soldiers into caves to capture bats in nets. The bats were not cooperative. Soldiers got bitten. A lot. Bat bites hurt. Also, rabies concerns. Capturing the Air Force was harder than expected. Next problem: the tiny bombs. Each incendiary device weighed 17 grams. Attaching them to bats without killing the bats required delicate work. They used surgical clips and string. Imagine thousands of annoyed bats getting bombs glued to them. The bats hated this. Then came the hibernation issue. They needed to keep bats cold enough to hibernate, but not freeze to death. Too cold, dead bats. Not cold enough, awake angry bats. Finding the temperature sweet spot took months. Many bats did not survive the research phase. Early tests used unarmed practice bombs. They wanted to see if the bats would fly away properly. They loaded bats into bomb casings, dropped them from planes, opened the casings. Some bats flew away. Many bats did not wake up from hibernation in time. They just fell to the ground. Dead bat rain. Other bats woke up, panicked, and flew straight into the ground. Kamikaze bats. Wrong target. Some bats flew directly back to the plane. Apparently, they liked the plane better than Japan. Back to the drawing board. They adjusted temperatures, changed timings, redesigned casings, tried again. By 1943, they were ready for live tests. Real napalm bombs, actual fire tests. They set up a mock Japanese village at a military base in Utah. Wooden buildings built to Japanese specifications. Time to see if bat arson worked. They loaded bats with live incendiaries, dropped them. The bats scattered. Success! The bats flew into the buildings. They roosted. The timers activated. The mock village burned beautifully. Bat bombs worked. Except some bats didn't go to the target village. Some bats flew to the actual military base. The armed, napalm-carrying bats roosted in a hangar, and a barracks, and the general's car. The timers went off. The base caught fire. Bat bombs successfully destroyed a US military installation. Wrong country, but technically effective. The base commander watched his hangar burn down courtesy of weaponized bats and had some thoughts about Project X-Ray. Most of those thoughts were unprintable. They kept testing, adjusted release altitudes, changed timer delays, more tests at another base in California. This time, escaped armed bats flew into a nearby town, started fires in civilian buildings. The fire department showed up confused. What started this? Bats with napalm, sir. What? Weaponized bats. Get out. The military had to explain to civilians that yes, the fires were caused by experimental military bats. No, they couldn't say more. Classified bat operations. The town was not thrilled. Despite the friendly fire incidents, the tests showed bat bombs could work. They started fires effectively. They covered large areas. One bat bomb could outperform regular incendiary bombs. The military was seriously considering production, mass bat recruitment, industrial bat bomb manufacturing, operational deployment to Japan. Then someone did the math on logistics. To produce enough bat bombs for a campaign against Japan, they would need millions of bats. Millions. Catching millions of bats. Housing millions of bats. Feeding millions of bats. Attaching bombs to millions of bats. Keeping millions of bats hibernating. They would need dedicated bat farms, bat warehouses, bat logistics chains, a bat industrial complex. Also, training time. Bats needed specific temperature conditioning. Timing had to be perfect. It would take until mid-1945 to be fully operational. Meanwhile, the Manhattan Project was developing something else. Something that didn't require managing millions of small flying mammals. In August 1945, the atomic bomb was ready. Instant city destruction. No bats required. The military looked at bat bombs versus nuclear weapons and made a choice. The bat program was cancelled. Project X-Ray cost $2 million, burned down parts of 2 military bases, started fires in a civilian town, killed thousands of bats. In return, it successfully proved that yes, you can make bats into arsonists. Was that worth knowing? Debatable. The scientists involved went on to other projects, presumably ones with fewer bats. The dentist who thought of this, Little Adams, was convinced bat bombs would have worked better than nukes. He complained about the cancellation for years. Sure, Little. Bat logistics versus splitting atoms. Tough call.